Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Talented Learning Executive Briefing Series. This is my favorite series of content because we get to travel around the world virtually and meet with the very best learning technology solutions and learn all about them, figure out what they do, why organizations are buying them, what's special about them in the marketplace, and then we get to see a great demo. And today's no different. We're out to Park City, Utah, and we're going to see Learnie. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Pete Maston. I'm the CEO of Learnie. I have with me today Kurt Wallace is our head of product to give the demo. I just wanted to talk for a few seconds about what makes Learnie different and really why our clients love to work with us. So I'll share my screen and show a few things. And I'm going to go back a little bit. We started in 2020, and what we recognized in 2020 was that there were some things wrong with the way that learning was being done. And one is that most companies weren't really training their employees on how to do their job. They were training them on compliance. And that's really changed in the last 5 years. Workforce training is no longer about just compliance, right? It's about actually training your actual employees on what is going to make you more money or save you more money or save their fingers and toes. And so this was the one of the truths that we came out with is that it's really not about compliance. Yes, we do compliance training too. We can absolutely do that. But that is only the little teeny piece of the iceberg if you look at how employees need to be trained. The second piece is that companies struggle to find optimal ways to train frontline workers. And what we mean by frontline workers are people who drive trucks, nurses who go and train, nurses who go and take care of people in the home, retail, multi-location restaurant chains. All of these companies have high turnover, and a lot of that turnover is because these people aren't trained effectively. So what we wanted to do, and what we did do, was we identified three differentiators, three things that weren't being effectively done in the learning space. One is traditional LMSs do not deliver to the field effectively. It's just a fact. And by the way, 80% of the global workforce is they're deskless workers, right? So we wanted to overcome that. The second thing that we know is that traditional training strategies don't capture the knowledge of subject matter experts and in your company already. Why is that? Because content creation is too hard, right, for LMSs. So we wanted to lower the barrier for content creation to allow anybody within a company to be able to create that content. And lastly, the human attention span is decreasing, right? It's been said that it's less than a goldfish these days. And while that in and of itself isn't a problem, it does exacerbate an existing problem, which is called the forgetting curve. And I think everybody who's watching John here knows what the forgetting curve is. And so by that short attention span exacerbating an existing human condition, we wanted to overcome that. We wanted to create a product that created retention. And so we built a mobile community microlearning. Mobile first, we have mobile apps in both app stores, native as well as a web app. And we wanted to have a mobile first strategy that really spoke to the people in the field. The second, and this is probably one of the more important things, is community. We've led the industry in community microlearning. And what we mean by community is allowing everyone to contribute their knowledge in a structured way that allows the L&D department to control the messaging, but to capture the knowledge of their crowd. And lastly, microlearning, because it's a best practice for beating the forgetting curve. So mobile community microlearning, that's what we live and breathe. We've actually trademarked community microlearning, and we own that trademark. And in the spirit of microlearning, I'm going to cut myself off right now and keep it really short. I'd like to jump straight to either John's questions if he has some, or have Kurt give a demo.
That's great. As Kirk warms up here, what type of organizations are investing in community micro learning? Is there some uptake more than others in some areas?
So we've had great success with in the solar industry, and I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is they're a new industry, so they're open to new, newer ideas. We've also had success in the restaurant industry, restaurant chains, and retail. And so, we've had success in all three of those. We've also had in healthcare, we've got a couple of companies that are using us to train in-home nurses and in-home healthcare people. And so, really, we're very horizontal. Like, we're really good for any company that has workforce trainers.
Hmm.
And even though we've had more success in some verticals than others, mostly because of just time and available effort, right? I mean, we think
Sure.
we've identified about 15 different industries that we think we're particularly adequate for. I will say one more thing on that front. We talk a lot about frontline workers and a lot about deskless workers. We also have companies that use us today, like 3D Technical Design, they're a CAD company, and they use it to train their users. So in that sense, we are also a very good choice for companies with knowledge workers that aren't deskless and frontline, because the microlearning, people still want that microlearning. People still want that experience.
Hmm. Hmm. Do you find that you're your customer's sole learning platform, or do you augment existing learning systems?
That's a great question. So for smaller SMB companies, we, in many cases, are the sole platform. We are the LMS of record, more or less. We also implemented XAPI, a modern API for integrating LMSs and learning record stores. And we have many customers that already have existing LMSs, but and we're integrating directly with those. I will also tell you that in at least one case I'm aware of, we're replacing the LMS that they had previously selected. So while we don't really market ourselves as a full LMS, because we're not, we do feel like, at least if for certain use cases, we're completely adequate for that. But
Excellent.
we do play nicely with other LMSs as well.
Well, you cover both bases then for the SMB, and then a lot of larger organizations already have a learning system. So be able to use a micro learning for a key program or just frontline workers, and then share that data with an LMS. That's a real smart strategy. You got both sides of the equation covered. All right, let's see it.
So John, this is our app. It's called Learnie. This, what you're looking at, is my phone, which happens to be an Apple. The app works exactly the same on Android devices. We got native apps in both app stores. We also have a web app that is capable of showing analytics, as well as content creation and content consumption. So some of our customers don't use the apps; they use the web app for their content creation and content consumption. But you can also use the mobile apps. They all work interchangeably.
Hey
This
Pete, what's the difference between a web app and just a website? Are they
None
synonymous?
really. They're both delivered over HTTP on the web.
Okay.
So it's a web version
Okay.
of this app. It happens to be a responsive web app, meaning if you pull it up
Mhm.
on your phone, it's going to look like what you're seeing right here. So it acts as if it's an app when it's on the phone, but it acts differently if you have a desktop.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. So this particular example is branded for Talented Learning, but the example we're going to show you is a restaurant chain. So imagine Talented Learning is a restaurant chain full of coffee shops and different types of food. And so you can have different communities in our app. So private communities. In this particular set of communities, you see barista training, front of house training, kitchen training, onboarding for new employees, and restaurant basics. We'll just go into a few of these, and I'll give you a few simple examples. I'll show you what the content looks like to consume, and then I'll show you how easy it is to create a piece of content, and then I'll hand it back off to Kurt to show the analytics and stuff. So Kurt, make sure your internet is kick it a few times between then and now. So let's go into the front of house community, and you see right away, you've got a set of learnies. Now, these learnies are short lessons, typically 1 to 5 minute lessons, and they can be strung together to make what we call learning journeys, which is a course. But each lesson stands alone on its own, and then you can string a set of courses to lessons together to create a course. We'll go into a lesson in a minute, but there's also a couple of ways the user can set as a default. I set this as my default as a double bar view, but you can also have, essentially the TikTok style, right? Where you're actually looking at TikTok, looking at the learnings that way, or even a list. So the user has different ways to be able to consume the content and to have as their defaults. We'll go back to the way I like to see it. And let's take a look at, say, Learnie guest services. This is an example of a piece of learning that you might provide to your hostesses or your waitresses on how to act in your restaurant. And I'll just go in here. And before I jump into this Learnie, you can see this one's 1 minute and 5 seconds long, but you can also see we've implemented features like QR codes, right? So you've got a QR code that's directly related to this Learnie. And so you could take this QR code and paste it onto your a piece of machinery or onto the your front of office and say anybody who works here has to take these Learnies, and people can scan it and immediately get this Learnie comes right up. We also have related Learnies. We have the ability to chat within a Learnie. So we have community chats, which are up here, the little box here, and we also have within a Learnie, we have Learnies that allows people to create correspondence and engagement within a Learnie. So you can ask questions and so forth. And you can do that either using video or text. So let's take a look at a Learnie real quick. So in this case, that's the first burst of a Learnie. And the first thing, actually, that's the fifth burst of the Learnie. Let's go back to the beginning. Continue. Sorry, we're going to have to go back to the top of the Learnie. There we go.
Hi, I'm Devin. Welcome to the wonderful world of restaurant guest service. Nothing is more important than setting the right vibe and mood for your guests from the jump. Here are some tips for making sure your guests have an amazing dining experience. Guest service is easy. Just remember the 3 F's: friendly, flexible, foodie. Smile and be friendly. Treat them like they're guests in your own home. Be flexible to accommodate any special requests or dietary needs. Be a foodie and know the menu inside and out, including specials and ingredients.
So one of the things that makes us special is we create short bursts of learning. You actually went through 3 bursts there, the intro burst and then 2 bursts. But then we have what we call cognitive breaks, which actually are not quizzes. We have AI-based quizzes as well, but the cognitive breaks allow you to create retention by asking a question that you just heard the answer to. So in this case, is it frumpy, feisty, and forgetful? No, that's not what the 3 F's are. So it pushes back, and it's going to keep pushing back until you give the right answer. And so by creating these cognitive breaks, and we have 5 kinds of cognitive breaks. You've already experienced a couple of them. One's just auto continue, but another one is a pause. So if you have a step-by-step process, you can just have it pause on that screen so people can complete the step before moving to the next step. We also have polling. So you can create a poll to ask a question. And then lastly, we have a link to external content, which I'll actually show you in the fifth of these. So I'll answer it correctly this time. Friendly, flexible, foodie.
Our guests so show your gratitude through and follow these 3 F's, the friendly, flexible, foodie, and leave your guests feeling satisfied and appreciated. You never know when you're looking at potential regulars.
So that was the 4th of 5. This is the 5th burst. In this case, it comes up with a link to external content, right? If I click on this link, it brings the external content directly into the app, and you can read, in this case, it's our website. But it could be any external content. If you've got PDF files or long form content you want to share, you can bring it directly into the app and share that. So we allow for integration of other forms of content, and we've got a partnership with a learning platform where we're actually using this to go into long form content and into quizzes in that LMS. So that's an example of a Learnie. Again, you can make them very easily. And what I'm going to demonstrate right now is the creation of a Learnie. And, to do that, you just hit the plus sign at the bottom. Again, only if you have the authority to do it. So the administrator of a community determines whether, Pete has the authority or not. In this case, I've been granted authority to create Learnies in this community. So I'll hit the plus sign, and you can see these are some of the Learnies I've previously created. I'll hit the plus sign again, and we'll create a Learnie. So this is a Learnie for John. This is a description. So this description is searchable, right? You can put hashtags in here and you can create a highly searchable thing. I'm not gonna do that, but I'm just gonna say this description. And then I can even put a photo cover if I want. That's relevant. If I text you this Learnie, you would see it on its photo cover, but otherwise we'll auto-generate one as well. So you can choose one or auto-generate. In this case, I'll hit save. So the first thing that happens once I do this is up comes 4 options for me, right? I can upload a pre-existing video that I've created. I can record a video in app. I can have an image. So if I've got a meat cutter in the kitchen, I can take an image of that and say, and talk over that image, or I can have text, bullet points, traditional PowerPoint type style things. We don't necessarily recommend that because we're a video-based platform, but we do provide features for that. In the web app, we also allow for screen capture. So some of our customers have used that. Customers that have built their own, CAD system, perhaps they use it to train users on the CAD, and they use screen capture. In the context of a restaurant, they might use it to train people on their point of sale system, right? They might have a specific set of menu items on the point of sale system that they want to provide for. So in this case, I'll just create I'll record a video in app. Hello, this is Pete Maston, CEO of Learnie, and I'm showing John how to create a Learning. So there we go. Our first burst. I can have a pause. I can have a link. Let's have a link in this one to external content. Hello. So I could go, this is a link to external content. And just for giggles, I'll do www.mylearnie.com. But it could be anything, right? It could be any external content that you wanted to pull in. So that's our first burst. Super easy to create, right? It took seconds to do it. Let's say create a second burst. This particular burst, maybe I pre-recorded it on my camera, so I'll add a burst. I'll upload a video. In this case, I'll go to, it's one of my favorites. I was at the fair recently, so we'll have a Learnie about a fair. In fact, we are.
Jeez! Oh, man.
Save that burst. In this case, we'll.
Not a chance I'd go on that.
Yeah, me neither. That's why I was out here taking the video. I'll add a third burst just for giggles. Maybe an image with audio, some image I've previously taken of my favorite baseball player. This is a Atlanta Brave. He pitched his first game last night. So I'll record something over him. This is Grant Holmes, who pitched 5 fine innings for the Atlanta Braves last night. There we go. And there we go. So in this case, I'm going to say a poll. Think the Braves make the playoffs? No. Yes. He says hopefully. Anyway, you get the idea. You can create a poll. So in very short period of time, we've created a very short video about made up of 3 bursts with cognitive breaks in between. It could have been about anything. I chose those topics, but it could be about some topic in the restaurant. Maybe it's even disposable learning. Maybe it's something that's only true for the next 6 weeks, but you can create a Learnie about it because it's so easy. Share that with your team. And then in 6 weeks, when that's no longer true, and examples of this are like if you're at a construction site and all of a sudden you have a sinkhole, right? Well, you want to say, hey, everybody stay away from this area until we get the gravel trucks out, right? So you might be saving lives, but more importantly, you're doing what it takes to avoid liability issues. I'll share a few other things. We can add this to a.
Here's another good one. Another good use case is the restaurant's running a special for
Exactly. We've got a special on the pancakes for the next 2 weeks. I can create a Learnie about it. And when that special's up, you delete it. But it only took me moments to create that, right? Mm-hmm. A few other things I'll do. We're integrated with the EMSI skill database. So I can choose a skill Here, if I chose restaurants, misspelled restaurant operation, restaurant management, restocking shelves. So we'll just say restaurant operation in this case. But the EMSI skills database, as you probably know, John, it's over 35,000 skills that it's associated with. We also have the ability to embed a Learnie directly into a web page here and create, so if you can spread the love. If you've got a way that people are consuming knowledge now, you can create these micro lessons and embed them directly on a page. We also use AI to create closed captioning and in over 120 languages. So if you have Spanish speaking people in the restaurant, you can create Learnies and create those closed captions in Spanish, and it works perfectly. I mentioned we have comments and video comments. You can disable those, right? You can decide, I don't want to, let's say it's a sexual harassment policy that you've created. You really don't want comments. It's just, this is the way it is, right? And there's no questions on those things. But versus other things you might want your other subject matter experts to chime in. And then lastly, I already mentioned the QR code that's associated with every learning. So there we go. Now we can add this into a community. Let's say we add it to the kitchen training. We go back over to the kitchen training. Where's kitchen training? Where is kitchen training? There it is, kitchen training. And it's, it's in here. I thought I added it. Yeah, there it is. This is Learning for John. So we can go look at the Learning and watch it. Hello, this is Pete Maston, CEO of Learnie, and I'm showing John how to create a Learning. Has a link to external content. I click on that out there. Once I'm done with that, continue.
Jeez. Oh, man.
Scary stuff here. In this case, we just auto. This is Grant Holmes, who pitched 5 fine innings for the Atlanta Braves last night. And we have a Braves playoffs. I'm going to have to go with, we probably won't make the playoffs, unfortunately for me. And that's how easy it is to create a Learning, right? And so I'll stop there. If you have any questions, we'd like to show you the back end and show you a little bit of the analytics and stuff. But what are your thoughts, John?
Well, it's fast and it's easy for sure to create it. And love the concept of how small it is. Essentially, like people think in terms of hours. It's still in 2024 in terms of content, and you're thinking in terms of seconds. And
right.
So just that change in itself is really unique and differentiating in the market.
Yeah, we think so too. Thanks for that. And I think I've heard the 4-to-1 ratio argument for content creation to LMS expense. Obviously we wanted to dramatically lower that, right? We wanted to create, and there's so many people now creating Instagram and TikTok style content that this is very natural for our customers. The ones who have adopted it get it. In fact, I can share a story with one of our solar companies. Kurt runs our onboarding for many of our clients. And one of our solar companies, it's usually a 5-meeting series of meetings over 4 or 5 weeks. After the first meeting, this guy goes, "Hey guys, I don't think I need you." And that guy has gone on to create some of the best content in Learning but he's a young guy that knows TikTok, knows Instagram. Once he understood the tool, he ran with it. And we haven't really had to provide any content creation type support with him because he's creating really great stuff.
I believe it. Looks really simple. Really simple. All right, let's see the back end. How's all this up to the administrators?
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. So
platform's really grown in the last year, guys. It's I can really see the progress since 12 months ago.
Thanks. Yeah, I know you looked at us about a year ago, and I was wondering what your impression would be based on we're a product-led strategy, right? We are 100% about making this the best product in the market.
Yeah, I can tell a lot of progress.
Yeah, so on the front end on the web, we've made some major changes, and we'll just go in and take a look at that. When you go into a community, you see the journeys that are available, and then you can click on a journey and join it, see your progress with any journey that you're in. You can also see all of the learnies that are in that community as well, and micro lessons being learnies, and just pop into any of these and take a short micro lesson on whatever information that you need to be able to do your job effectively. You can also use the AI search tool, which is a chat experience. So you can go in and refine what you're trying to find within the platform, within your community. And yeah, so that's a bit of the front end. We'll jump into the back end too. Oh, one other thing is you can build quizzes with an AI quiz builder. So that fast tracks the ability for people to be able to get micro lessons out without having to go through that process of developing out a quiz. Now you can do that if you prefer, you can do that manually, but yeah, you can use the AI quiz builder and it will take all of the details of that micro lesson and generate questions or suggested questions, which are editable as well. And then once you're happy with it, then it goes into the quiz builder. So that's another way we use AI. If we go into the back end of the platform, we have the ability to see analytics. So there's a variety of areas that it provides information about. You can also go in and do analytics on a particular individual within the community. So if I click on a user in the community, I can see a bird's eye view of everything that they've done in terms of creating content, or not completing or completing content, quizzes as well. Let's say that I want myself to take how to communicate professionally. I'll just assign that to myself. Boom. It sends me a notification to take that micro lesson, both in email and on the phone as well. I can also see the training time of each individual, how many times they've taken the lesson, how much training time that they've taken for that as well. So that's it's a quick kind of a bird's eye view of analytics. Anything else I should show?
I mean,
Anything else you guys want to see? You can see the analytics for each individual micro lesson. So if I jumped into a micro lesson, I can see the analytics by clicking on that micro lesson and see who's done what their progress is for the micro lesson itself. And you can do that also with the journey. So you can look at analytics based on whatever methodology that is important to you at the time, whether it's the individual or the lesson or the journey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How about Pete's this learning is for John Lay? Of course, we just did.
The communities that were for John Lay?
Yeah, the one
that Pete just created right now. Let's take a look at that real quick.
Yeah, so it'd be in the community called
which community is that on?
Kitchen training, Kurt.
Okay. All right, 1 second.
Put you guys on the spot here. Sorry about that.
That's good. No worries.
All right. So if we go in there and we jump into this lesson, this is for John.
Yep.
Yep. So we see that only one person has watched that micro lesson.
That's my dog.
Yep. And that's pretty much it for that. It's not very exciting at this point because it's just one person seeing it. But you know, when you have and within this experience, this is the library of content for this community. So you have the transcript reports. You can pin the learnings to the top of the community as well. You can change the owner. So let's say that Pete made this micro lesson, but John wants to add to it. Or let's say that Pete leaves the company and John takes over as the CEO of Learnie. All right. So John's going to take over some of the content and, you know, do some changes to it, so to speak. You can duplicate the content. You can remove it from the community, check out the quiz reports, that sort of thing as well from the library. So there's different ways to see the analytics however you want to, from the micro lesson level, the journey level, the user level, all the aspects of what the user is doing, a macro view of everybody in the community as well. There's monthly reports for the analytics as well, so you can download those. We feed those to through XAPI to any kind of learning record system or other LMSs as well. So you have that ability. Yeah.
Nice. How do you buy it? How's it licensed per user?
Yeah, so we have it's a per user license. It's a tiered SaaS model, meaning it gets cheaper the more users you add. It starts at about $9 per user per month, but drops pretty quickly down into the dollars and then into the pennies in terms of as your organization gets bigger. We've also recently innovated for franchise restaurants a per location model. So we do have a per location model that we can offer. And then for very large opportunities, we've also offered a usage-based model. But we're talking companies have to be 10,000 employees or north of there for that to make much sense for them or us. But we do offer all three models.
Cool. What's next on the horizon?
Well, we continue adding some great features. We've added some amazing customers in the last couple of months, and we are starting to seriously market ourselves as opposed to less of a market as a startup and more marketing ourselves now as an industry leader in community microlearning. And so we're hopeful to add to double our revenues again in the next 6 months. I would say that in terms of some of the customers we've added, like Seek Now, they're a company that works in the insurance industry to help insurance adjusters, create, adjustments. And so they climb up on ladders and they have training in their communities about, how to do those adjustments and how to, how not to die basically, because it's a dangerous job. And, but what's important about them is what I love about them as a client is they're really pushing us on the feature set, right? And so they're really coming in with a lot of great ideas. We're very much leaning into our customers. Another is Aurora School System, which I think Kurt was about to show you some of their back end. But they've when they came in, they wanted a lot of additional features, and so we've implemented them rapidly. So we continue down that road. I think we're going to continue with our product-led strategy to make sure that we're the best product in the market.
Cool. Well, gentlemen, I love it. It's, as I mentioned before, the progress from last year to this year is palatable, noticeable. It looks like about double the product, quite frankly, from what I remember. So that part, just just keeping your foot on the gas is great. Even invented a different mousetrap, a better mousetrap here for how to get learning out to learners, especially frontline workers. And I agree with your assessment. It's traditionally pretty hard to do that. If you've got a restaurant location, a Panera Bread or something like that, get those kids to go sit down on a computer. How do you do that? When do you do that? It's difficult for all of those businesses. So they're able to just get something right up front when they need it and get the subject matter experts involved in it and do it all with your proprietary content in a way that's fast and easy is differentiating. I also like the integration of the AI capabilities. So the assessment test question creator is cool and useful, and so of course 120 languages and doing the translation and the text and the dubbing of that is another good use. I like that it's integrated with the skills database. In 2024, everything's getting tied to skills, so that you're out ahead of the game and tying that to skills. And there's a lot of opportunities to extend that by tying the skills to the assessment questions, to the actual bursts of learning, to the and there's a lot of places you can go with that now that you got the foundation of just having the skills to grow on that. For sure, defeating the learning curve is everybody's problem. I'm a student of foreign languages, and the learning curve plagues me daily.
Yeah.
Daily.
Languages are tough. Languages are tough for, past about 15, I think is I saw my son learn French when he was 6, and I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. For me, the learning curve is where the forgetting curve is more powerful than the learning curve.
I would say this too. Another one, John, that we've really leaned in on, and this is again because of customers asking for it, is 508 compliance. We're very much focused on that in the next 2 or 3 months, and we'll be rolling out a lot of features around 508 compliance and around even stricter than 508 that some of the states have enacted. So we're really very focused on that as an area In fact, one of our oldest customers is the Amy Copeland Foundation, who helps people learn how to ride in wheelchairs. And so, being able to supply our product to people who don't have all the advantages is really important.
We had the founder of that foundation on the Talented Learning Show last year. In the notes, listeners, in the description, we'll put a link to that podcast so you can see Learning in a real life application.
Absolutely.
We can't see it, but you'll hear all about it anyway.
Well, you can download the app and go visit a state park in Georgia anyway. And I think they're actually training outside the state. But yeah, I mean, that's how all the people train themselves on how to use the device. We're very proud of our association with Amy Copeland.
Yeah, that was a good podcast interview for sure. All right, gentlemen. Well, I love it. Keep going. Keep your foot on the gas here. You're going down a path that not a ton are going down. I know a handful in the back of my head that are thinking down this same vein. And so you're out in front. Stay there.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. You're welcome. Listeners, thanks very much for tuning in to another episode of the Talented Learning Executive Briefing Series. I hope you agreed today. It was a unique solution, and we learned a lot, and we saw a lot that we haven't seen if you've been a regular on this series. So a real enjoyable hour, and we hope to see you on the next. Have a great day, everyone.